Hi guys, it's Angela Anderson and we are going to be painting tonight. Thanks for joining me. We're going to be doing a deer antler with floral painting. It should be a lot of fun. We will need just a couple brushes for tonight. A couple angle brushes, a small flat, and a couple small rounds, and a large brush to put the background in. I have started by prepping my 12 by 16 inch canvas with a coat of yellow oxide, and we'll have other colors that I'll introduce here in a second, but I've got my husband Mark with me tonight and he will be doing the chat for us. So if you've got any questions, you can post those while we're live. Now, I had somebody ask me today if we were still live on a recording. So if you're not watching at Tuesday night, November 8th, 2016, then we are not live anymore. So could be, well, I am live, hopefully, but not live on air on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to my channel, please, and give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out. And we will get started here. So I keep my paints in a plastic bag that just keeps them moist, and I can leave those protected in the bag and spritz them every couple of days, and they'll stay good for about a week. That way, if I have any extra paint left over after I finish a project, I can pop them in the bag. We've got teal, Quinacridone Magenta, Dioxazine Purple, Phthalo Blue, Phthalo Green, Cadmium Yellow Light. This is my yellow oxide that I used on the background. Burnt Umber and Carbon Black. And these are two whites. This is Titanium White and Unbleached Titanium, which is titanium white plus a little bit of yellow oxide. So you don't have to buy that color if you don't have it already, but I use it in a lot of my paintings and I find it very helpful to just have it pre-mixed. So my screen looks a little bit dark tonight. Is it dark on there to you? Looks okay? Yep. All right, I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to go ahead and use a credit card just to kind of scrape the background. Now, if you wanted to, you could do the background of this. I think it would look really good. This is sort of like, I don't know, it's not wood really. It's just kind of a abstract background that I did on this, just kind of scrapings of different colors. But if you wanted to do it like a wood look, you can watch my video that I did a couple weeks ago, and this, you can use this background for this project if you wanted to, and I think it would look really good, and they could kind of coordinate maybe even. So let's set this aside for now, and I'm just going to grab my credit card and I'm going to go ahead and use a brush and mix up a little bit of gray. So I'm going to use my white and a tiny bit of black, and I mean tiny, tiny. You don't need a lot of it, and I'm just going to put a little bit of that on my credit card on one side. And maybe we'll do a little bit of this burnt umber color too, just a little bit, and put a little bit of that on there as well. Now, we don't have a whole lot on there. You can see I've kind of just have it a little bit scraped up on there. And I'm just going to start on the edge here and angle it just a little bit and just start scraping across. If you press down a little harder, you might get a longer line. Get a little bit more on there. And just do it from the opposite side. Ooh, it's kind of nails on chalkboard sound, sorry. I'm going to grab some of this unbleached titanium, give it a kind of a creamy color in there as well. There we go. Kind of want it to start to blend together and these colors to all kind of merge. Let's go ahead and grab some more, a little bit darker gray. We'll add it to the unbleached titanium this time to make it kind of a different, warmer gray. How are we doing on chat tonight, honey?
Well, so far so good. Just people are coming in and saying hi and getting caught up with each other.
Good. I love our chat. We have such nice people. Kind of sad that I don't get to paint and chat at the same time. That would be fun. I get to do that on my Monday chats. I do my little Monday live chats on my Facebook group and get to interact with folks on that. So that's nice. I do enjoy it. And I'm still getting used to being on camera. I don't know. It's not my favorite. It's a little bit nervous tonight.
You did great.
Okay.
Everybody loved it.
All right. I'll get better at it the longer I do it, I hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got people from Greece have joined us.
Wonderful.
And we have
Wow.
Normal Sweden and Norway, all across the U.S. also.
That's awesome. Ooh, look at that one. I don't want to go too dark, and I don't want to cover over all of my yellow, but it just makes kind of this weird texture that you just can't get any other way. I haven't really found another way to get this kind of a look without doing this scraping. You could probably use a palette knife also, but you kind of need something where you're dragging across the canvas and it's picking up the texture of your canvas. I'm running out of paint a little really fast here. Oh, there we go. Got some dark brown there. Might even put a little bit of a color in here eventually. We'll see. Get a little bit more of that white. This is just blowing through all of my unbleached titanium.
What was the background color again?
Yellow oxide.
Okay, that's what we thought.
Or ochre. You could use yellow ochre or raw sienna or just any kind of yellow. And really, you could use any color you wanted to. Honestly, any kind of neutrally color, like a teal would be pretty. Anything that kind of coordinates with your flower colors would look good, I think.
Okay, so it's not mustard.
No.
Okay. All right, good.
Did somebody speculate that it was mustard?
Well, no, I was just trying to guess at what it was, so I don't want to give them the wrong information. You didn't have mustard linked down below, so.
No.
Okay, good.
Probably.
It is #feed Mark, so that might have been
That might be
influencing
why
too.
you're hungry. Yeah, you
Yes.
might be thinking about mustard because you've got dinner on your mind. I did make dinner for you. You could have had
I
yourself
know,
a
it
cup of
smells
soup.
great too.
Made chicken tortilla soup
Mm-hmm.
tonight. I don't know how long this one will be. I think we'll be over an hour, so you may want to cut out and just go get yourself some soup halfway through.
Okay. If you hear the door open, you'll know what's going
You'll
on.
know Mark's left the building, or at least the room. Okay, almost done with this. Adding a little bit more white here. And just kind of using variations of the brown, black, white, and titanium, or unbleached titanium here. So just to get this kind of, I don't know, it kind of just has that chipped wood, burnt, I don't know, earthy, rustic look. I like it. Goes with the deer theme. And you could leave flowers off of your deer. So if you've got a dad and you don't think he's going to want flowers on his deer antlers, you could totally put pine branches or something more manly or just sticks and leaves, I totally get that. So I'll do like a variation off on some paper, maybe if we have time, that is like a more manly version of the deer decorations on the antlers. But the flowers on the antlers are a really big trend here in the U.S. right now. A lot of weddings are doing like the deer antler thing, the rustic theme in general, but deer antlers in particular.
Yeah,
So.
and some people wear them for Halloween too.
I did, even though they're technically not female deer don't have antlers. I didn't think about that when I did my costume, but...
Well, they live in the woods with the foxes that have glasses.
Right, so it's all what you want to make it.
Right, we're creating our own world here.
That's right. This is art, people. No boundaries. All right, I'm liking that. I'm going to let Mark do his skills here with the hairdryer. He didn't know he was going to be doing that, but you can kind of see what we got going on here. I think it's looking pretty good. I'll give that to you. And clean off my hands real quick, and we're going to have to try to find something to put on Stickman here. Now, if you're first time to my channel, you will probably not know anything about Stickman. He is our little unofficial mascot. Mark started him by drawing him and taking him around one of the museums locally here, and we took a bunch of pictures with Stickman with famous artwork. He's seen Rosie the Riveter and all kinds of different gals, and so I don't know, one of the days I just kind of added something to him, and he's turned into this. So we add something to him every show. He got a unicorn horn on Sunday or Saturday, I'm sorry. So he needs some antlers, I guess. Obviously, that's what he's getting. He's got a foxtail already, so why not some antlers, right? So I'm gonna grab some of my brown. Let's see where I can fit the antlers. We'll just zoom off to the side here. Don't cover over the bird that we did from our bird tutorial. Okay. I don't know, we're running out of room. Okay, so he's got some antlers now. This is the worst artwork ever. It's fun. It's not supposed to be good. Sometimes it helps just playing, you know? Let's just have some fun and play with our art a little bit. Okay, you can set that aside over there. Okay. All right, so I thought I'd show you how I designed the antlers. When I did this, I just sketched straight onto here, and so they're not perfectly symmetrical, but this was just my example one, and I wanted to be a little bit more precise with the final product. So I got out my tracing paper, and this is what I do anytime I'm doing like a butterfly or a dragonfly or anything that's going to be symmetrical. I will draw one half of it and then flip it and trace the other half so that it's exactly symmetrical. So when we get our thing here, let me grab my Sharpie and I'll just show you kind of the basic design principles. So I start out with think of it kind of like a tree branch. It's sort of what I used in mine. So you can do kind of a central line that kind of curves up, and you want to fill up this entire area. I left a nice big spot here in the middle for my big flower, and left a little bit of space down below for a few leaves and things like that. So then I started out on either side of it with a large, and this may be too thick, you can thin it down a little bit maybe, but my large antler branch, and I just drew all the way up to the tip. So I drew this first line all the way up here and did a nice thin point on it, and then I just did some of these points off of that main one, and then did this one off of this side, curving back up a little bit, and then sort of played with, I kind of erased and fixed, you know, some of these borders, then did this one here like that. So I'm going to put it in Sharpie so you can see it really well, and I'll be using this as my traceable. So I'll have this available on Pinterest and my Thankful Art group on Facebook, so you can do that. There is a link down in the description that'll take you to my traceables board on Pinterest, And I've got several of my more recent ones. I need to go back and add my older traceables to it still, but right now I've got most of my recent ones on there from the last few months. And there we go. All right. So that's all we have to do. I'll go ahead and put my big old rose right here in the center. And then I'm just going to grab my dried painting here and set this down on it. And I really don't feel like it's cheating to use a tracing paper. You could even, trace my design and do it that way. If you don't know how to draw, don't let that stop you from painting. So this is called transfer paper. It's wonderful. It is shiny on one side and it's got this carbon fiber on the other side, or graphite fiber or something on the other side. So you put that side down and use a stylus or an old ball pen or a pencil and just very, very firmly press down. Keep one hand always holding down the paper and get real close. Keep moving it kind of closer to where you're working so that the paper doesn't wrinkle too badly, because it wants to move and twist and you don't want it to have any issues. So do that side, and then I'm going to, I have some paint. All right, I'm going to line it up on this side, and I did the outside edges so that I'll know where to place it. And then we'll do, and be sure you do the matte side down, the darker side down, because I have many, many, many times done the wrong side down. Let's just double check that you're putting the right side of the graphite paper down. It's no fun to have to do it over again because you did it wrong. And I'd say also that, newer graphite paper might make marks on your painting that you don't want, and those can be erased. So I'll do a little bit there. But on this case, it probably is not going to be an issue because it's kind of dirty looking anyway, so I don't think it'll be a problem for us.
Is the graphite paper available at art supply stores or office supplies or both?
Yes. Well, I don't think office supplies, but yes, definitely at art supply stores. It's usually in the painting section. Like, I think at Hobby Lobby, it's right there by the canvases, actually. It's not on the painting aisle. It's on the aisle with the canvases and watercolor papers and things like that, I think.
Yeah, you can always ask too when you're there.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes it's called transfer paper, graphite paper, whatever. I'll have a link to it down in the description. I don't think I put one in there tonight, but I will definitely put it in later on after we air here, so you can get that, pick that up. Okay, so we got it up there. I kind of wish I'd moved it down a little bit, but oh well. I just remembered that I was going to do that. So it's kind of a little bit top heavy, but I'll probably just bring some sticks down here to balance it out. I'm going to grab this one is a 1/2 inch angle brush, but if you don't have a 1/2 inch, you can use the 3/8 inch angle brush. And I'm going to grab my burnt umber and just start filling in these antlers. And just use the tip of it, set it down, and kind of use the edge. I just kind of pull long ways, and you can get pretty good lines with it that way. Just use whatever brush you're comfortable with, though. Really brushes, there's several different ways. You could use a flat brush, you could use a round brush for this. Really, there's no right and wrong brush to use for this. It's just whatever works the best for you and you feel comfortable with. So don't feel like you have to go run out and get the brushes that I'm using if you've got one that's your favorite that you are comfortable with. And definitely I understand having a relationship with the brush, because I have some brushes that are my favorites and that I feel comfortable with. The longer you paint with the brush, the more it becomes a part of your artistic, I don't know, like a friend almost, because you can kind of trust it and understand how it works. And I'm always sad when one of my favorite brushes dies, you know. It's like losing an old friend. And then I go back out and try to buy the same one, and they're never exactly the same. It always takes a while to kind of get them, the new ones sort of, what is it when you break a horse? Broken in, I guess that's the word.
You're asking me about that,
About
right?
horses. Mr. Outdoorsy. So Mr. Engineer, my office worker.
As I demonstrated my horse riding capabilities
Oh my
during our
gosh.
honeymoon in Mexico.
That was awesome. That was awesome. You can tell them.
No, that's okay. No, I'm not going to do that to myself.
Tell on yourself.
The right to remain silent. Just focus on painting.
Keep on painting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Mark's the worst horseback rider ever in history. Oh gosh, that was so funny.
I was doing exactly what I saw them do in the movies.
He was holding the reins out like this and like like outside from the horse. It was awesome. And really high too. Like right up by his head. Like I turned around and I was like, what are you doing? And this horse is like turning around to go back.
Please get back to painting.
It's awesome.
Thank
Don't
you.
make me laugh. I can't be while laughing. Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
And it hasn't got any better.
No. We only did it, I think, one more time after that. I have not ridden a horse in probably 20 years or more, easily.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Now the chat is just enjoying that story.
At your expense, obviously.
Yeah. That's okay. The truth hurts sometimes.
That was awesome. I didn't marry you for your horse riding skills, obviously. Okay, so if you can't really see it probably, but I'm filling it in and leaving like some of the streaks in it, and just pulling from the tips down and letting those streaks be part of the design. So it's a little bit see-through. If you're not using heavy body acrylics like I am, and you're using maybe craft paints or something like that, you might need 2 coats to get it to cover well, but you can leave some of these streaky things happening and it'll look good. One of the other things that I wanted to mention too is that when I'm doing one of these that has a lot of detail all the way through and using the same color, I always start at the top and work down toward the bottom, because if I started back here and then tried to do these ones at the top, my hand would be resting in this paint, or possibly resting in the paint, and knowing me, it would rest in the paint because I'm just that clumsy. So do that also, kind of get in the habit of doing that, of working from the top down while you're painting, and that will save you a lot of headaches. That's what we're all about. Trying to help you not make the same mistakes that I have made. So, Mark's obviously typing some replies to his fans here. Fans of his horseback riding skills. No. Not a hunter, I embarrassed myself really bad at one of my friend's house one time, because I went in and she had deer antlers all over. Like, she was I knew her husband hunted, and I forgot that she actually hunted too, and she worked for the wildlife thing of Arkansas or whatever, like the wildlife, what is that called? Management. Wildlife management, yeah. And so I was like, oh, what do you think about your husband having all these deer antlers in your living room, and it was like insert foot, because then I realized that was probably her aesthetic too, because she obviously was into hunting. And yeah, so sorry Mary. It was bad. I was like, because I was just thinking, I don't know, it wasn't a trend then, and it was very, very like wood lodge decorating. I don't know. Sometimes you say things and you don't think. That's what happened there. It was very pretty in its own way. It kind of reminded me of like a Bass Pro Shops or something like that. But, so I mean, it's very much a style of decorating. It just wasn't something I was used to seeing in somebody's house. So I inserted my foot right, good and square. Yeah, so bad. Don't you hate when you do that? You just like think out loud. Yeah. So that happened. Oh my goodness. Any questions? We're good?
No questions.
Good.
Everybody's enjoying the stories.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just giving background information of we were riding on the cliffs near the ocean.
Yes, we
there
were.
in Mexico.
And Mark had the biggest swayback nag you've ever seen.
Yes, it was ready to go to the glue factory.
It really was. I've never seen a horse with a belly like that. It was literally almost touching the ground.
Yeah, the best part was when the guide came up and slapped the horse on the back and it took off
to get it going.
And
Yeah.
I was holding on for dear life. That was good times. Good times.
And of course, I'm just like right up against the edge, going, wow, look at that. Isn't that this is so awesome. Look at all those flowers. The ocean was down below us.
Oh, it was a beautiful,
so beautiful
scene. Yeah.
And Mark is terrified for life. He's just like
impressing my new bride.
Right. Yes, with the skills. Yes. So we'll let that dry completely, and we'll give it a little bit of decoration, or not decoration, but highlights here in a minute. Just making sure that this is dry. I think it's probably okay. We'll start putting in some of our leaves here. I'm going to grab my number 4, or actually what number is that? Number 2 titanium flat. It's about a 1/4 inch flat. And if you don't have the flat, you can use a bright, which is just the shorter version of the flat. It's about half as long. So I've got this area here that's going to be my rose. I'll go ahead and just kind of fill in a little bit of color there with my Quinacridone Magenta to sort of give me a reference. This won't be my final rose, but this will just be kind of a reference mark for me. I might even make it a little bit bigger since we've got all this room down here to fill in. So generally just kind of a big circle shape. And this is a transparent color so that those antlers will show through, but that's okay. We'll cover that up here in a minute. And, oh, don't get water on that while it's drying. Put a little bit more paint down. Let me grab my chalk. So I didn't really sketch out on my tracing the design features. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. Put in a few leaves, leaf shapes, some twigs. The twigs are going to kind of come up this way. I don't want to go over the top of that yet. I may just have to have you dry this, honey. I don't know. I think I can get around it by just carefully sketch. Okay. I'm trying kind of not to go over the antlers completely, but to go ahead and overlap them a little bit so that they kind of get set back in and are part of the design. So I'll have a big old purple flower right here and some baby's breath and like a small flower tucked in here. Now if you wanted to and you're worried about having gaps between your flowers, you could stipple a little bit of greenery underneath like we've done when we did the boho vases. But I think we can kind of just work with this and just tuck our flowers in real close to one another and fill in all these little gaps. So there'll be a feather that sort of sticks out here. So do the center line of that. Can they see this color? So it's working okay? Okay.
Yep.
And then it angles out almost like a leaf shape. It's very similar to a leaf shape. And the tip is a little bit rounded like that. So that'll be a nice big feather right there. And we'll do another feather. Let's do another feather going off in this direction down here. Like a little bit smaller one maybe. And some greenery. I'm only kind of drawing in my main largest design elements here, and then we'll tuck in a bunch of little smaller things to fill in any other gaps that we want. So I'm just kind of drawing circles for my main flower shapes, and still going to kind of keep that general arc. So when you're designing this, you kind of start from the center and go down this direction. So these ones will be angling out this way just a little bit, and then they'll start to kind of angle out almost like a spoke. So if you think about this being the center, everything is going to be pointing to that center point. So all these leaves and everything, and then as we get up here, they're going to curve even more up towards the tip of the antlers. So, but kind of use this, maybe the bottom of the flower as our apex point. So everything is pointing to that spot right there, if that makes sense. That might help you when you're designing your leaves and things. Okay, I think that's good. I don't want to spend too much time fiddling with the design because we will be able to work some of this stuff out while we're painting. I'm going to use Phthalo Green, and I spray my palette every now and then to keep the paints moist. If they dry out, just spritz them a little bit. And I'm going to cut that green because this is Ginger Cook. If you watch Ginger Cook, she's awesome. She's one of my YouTube colleagues. She does, she calls these circus colors. So the colors that come right out of the bottle are generally really, really highly pigmented and really, really circusy. They're very, I don't know. Unless you're doing a child's room, you probably wouldn't want to use them straight out of the bottle is what I'm saying. So I'm mixing some of the Phthalo Green, cutting it down with a little bit of purple, and that will deepen the color, and it will neutralize that green just a little bit and make it a little bit more of an interesting, prettier green. See how it did that? I'm going to zoom in now so that we can get real close up to our flowers while we're working on them. And we're already at 30 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to have to start booking here. I kind of figured when I did this it might be a little bit longer lesson. I'm sorry, honey.
You don't need to apologize for me.
Okay, well, I do want to feed you at some point since you've been working all day.
Yeah, it's overrated.
Food is overrated.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just call it fasting.
Fasting.
Yeah.
Ah. Is that a new thing? What is this word you're speaking of? Okay, so I'm just using this angle brush and I'm going to put in my little leaves here in different places. You can cluster them together if you want. just let this be kind of a fun, sort of creative, no rules. I mean, there's basic principles you want to follow, but you don't have to do yours exactly like mine. Let this be your kind of expression and just have fun with this. I really find that doing flowers and leaves and things like this are really freeing artistically. I think that's why I enjoy doing it so much, because there's so much variation in nature that it's not so restricting. You know, you can kind of play with it a little bit more and make it up as you go along. So, as opposed to portraiture, where if you're, you know, you got to get Grandpa's nose just right. He might look like a dog or something, you know, that you're not intending. Let's see what happens when we add a little bit of yellow oxide to this color. It's going to kind of smooth it out and make it kind of more olivey. Olivey, is that a word? Mm-hmm. Olivey. Well, actually, I think I'm going to squeegee off this brush and grab my number 4 round and put this color on with the number 4 round. I do have to finish by 7:30 though, because Ginger Cook does come on, and I just thought about that. She has a show at 7:30 on Tuesday nights too, so I don't want to overlap her. That would not be good etiquette. Not good form. She and her daughter Cinnamon and I are friends, so definitely don't want to. I did get to meet Ginger though. She was hilarious. I loved her. She was awesome. Got to meet her this summer when we went to that conference in Houston. She's just as fun in person as she seems like on her videos. Just as quirky. I'm grabbing a little bit of brown, and I'd like to flatten out this is why I love this brush, because I can use it almost like a flat. So I just push it flat, and it's got this edge now, and I can just run it along just like I would a flat brush and do this center lines for these flowers. And then let's just go ahead and use it and draw in some. I'll add a little bit of white to it just to make it, and I've got this yellow in there, and it's mixing with the brown, and it's making this kind of I don't know, mottled. Needs a little bit more light color. Just making this grayish green brown color. And I may need to switch to my smaller. There we go. So I'm just going to add these little wispy, I don't know what they are, like maybe grass or something like that. I definitely need my smaller brush. I'm just running it through all of those colors just to get a little bit of everything on my brush, so that it's like a little bit mottled color. It's not solid color. And we'll just like add a little bit of kind of grassy something there. Just kind of wiggling it and creating some shapes. There, we'll do some more down here, kind of coming out this way. This will be good for filling in some of these areas. We can use this to kind of create some of our direction. So I'm kind of pointing it down, but then I'm curving it up this way. Okay. Let's do some on this side too. Let's see. Yeah, we'll do some down here. Maybe not as many, but just a few. All right. Add some white, grab the white. And maybe a little bit of the brown. I have both of those on my brush, and we'll start putting in some, I think we'll want baby's breath in this area up here. So I'm just going to tap some of that. I might grab a little bit of that brown on one side of my brush and just sort of tap it down so that there's a little bit of darker on a little bit of it. And right now I'm not really worried about the shape too much. I'm just going to kind of tap in where my baby's breath might be. And we'll do some down here. Definitely going to need a little bit of the brown underneath to give it some contrast. Maybe a little bit over here. Okay. And I'm not going really symmetrical with this. If you notice, I'm kind of skipping around so it's not even on both sides. But if that bothers you and you want it to be, you know, even and matchy-matchy on both sides, you know, feel free to do that. So you could put the baby's breath, you know, here, exactly the same spot that you did on the other side, if it's making you upset. Go with your artistic instincts there. There probably was a time in my artistic journey where I would not have done the offset thing. I'm going to grab some black here, and I'm just going to add a few random stem-like things with my small brush here. Doesn't have to really connect to anything in particular, but just sort of give it a little indication that there's something going on underneath there. Very short little random. We'll put more dots on top, so that's why we're doing it at this point. Then we can set these back by putting some other color over the top. All right, just a little bit of that. And then I'm going to grab the pure white and go back and dab over the top of some of those stems so that they sort of disappear into the flower. They're there, but you can't really see where they start or stop. Okay. Good. Let's put in the background of our purple flower here. I'll grab the purple, a little bit of the Quinacridone Magenta, and some Unbleached Titanium. The Quinacridone Magenta makes it a little bit more of a violet on the violet side, and the Unbleached Titanium just softens the color just slightly so that it's not so in your face. And this flower is going to go right here. Whoops. There you go. See, that's what you don't want to do right there. Exactly what I told you not to do. So I'm keeping my hand up off of it. Try this, take two. So I'm going to do like two. I think this is kind of like an anemone flower. They have sort of squarish petals, I think. All right, and like that. Okay. We'll do something similar over here in that same color. So I'll just do a little dab there. Clean that out really well. we'll do some leaves up here. So I'm going to grab the teal color, add a little bit. Now, if you don't have teal, you can mix that with quinacridone, or I'm sorry, phthalo blue, phthalo green, and some white. So you don't have to go back out and you don't have to buy that unless you're like me and you need all the colors that they make. Needs all the colors all the time. Okay, so that's my base color, and I'm gonna grab some white and just use what's in my brush here to mix in a lighter version of it. So I have kind of a highlight and a darker color there. I'm gonna spray my canvas one more time. I don't want this to dry out here. Okay, so let's use this brush and we will put in some leaves that are curving up here. And I'm just going to set down my brush on its side. I'm flattening it out. So it's coming to a good point, pretty much. It's got a lot of paint in it. But I'm going to set it down and just pull a little bit, just slightly, so that I get these kind of leaf shapes happening. Do some there, let's do some over here. There we go. I'll do one down here with this color. So if you notice I'm trying to use each color, even if I'm not using it like exactly opposite, I'm sort of using it in at least 2 places, if not 3, in my design. So I'll put another purple something up here. That's just kind of a good design element or design trick to get into, this is my highlight color now. I'm just going to go back over and highlight a few of these leaves with this color. It's a good habit to get into, is just to work in 3s and 5s, odd numbers, or design-wise are a good rule of thumb, even in decorating in your home. Okay, and then I'm going to use this color that we had before, and I'm going to flatten out that brush really well. So I have a good point, and I'm just going to do a center line on each one of these. You could do the center line first if you wanted to. There we go. Yeah, a little bit darker. Okay. You doing okay, hon?
I'm doing well, yes. Sorry.
I'm grabbing some purple here. Hanging in there? You're not passed out from hunger yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet.
I'm gonna add a little bit of center lines on my flowers. Those are not showing up very good, so I might have to use a different color. Let's see. Let's use this color. This is that teal purple color. Let's use a little bit of it in my purple flower here. We'll pull out from the center. Just have a little bit of that teal color peeking through. Back there. And I'm trying to remember what colors I used on all this example here. Oh yeah, I need to put in this is what I need to do. I need to put in so I'm talking to myself. I'm thinking out loud, sorry. Sorry, people. I need to put in my black feather. That is not wanting to come out of my brush. I'll grab my black here. And I've got my 1/4 inch flat. And I'm going to put in these feathers. So let's go ahead and do the center line. I'll just give us a reference point, and I'm just going to pull roughly from the outside in, kind of at an angle, so I'm not doing thin lines, but they're not super thick either. So they're just kind of all, and they're all kind of, think of V shapes. So you're making a V along here, V, V, V's all the way up and down this feather.
We're getting several requests for a finger dance.
Oh, finger dance.
Yes,
Why?
we hit the 100.
Nice.
107 right now.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Finger dance. All right. I don't know. I need to come up with some good dances. For
Need
my
to get the
fingers
sweet
do.
finger dance moves.
I know. I need to look up finger dance moves. So.
I wonder if there's a YouTube tutorial.
I don't know. There's probably like what, a box step? What, like 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. To look that up. Remember our ballroom dancing days? Yes. We did.
Yeah.
We did that too.
We
We've
did
tried a lot of
ballroom
things.
dancing. We did line dancing.
We did. Yep.
Yeah,
I'm gonna grab some gray because it's not showing up against this ground there.
The common word is did.
Did. Tried. Or
Tried.
tried is the
Okay,
yeah.
tried.
Tried. That dancing, I swear, do you remember when we did that? It was like 3-hour lesson of ballroom dancing, and that's probably, I would not recommend trying it for the first time in a 3-hour class. All I'm saying is we could barely walk when we walked out of there. We were so tired. It was bad.
Oh yeah, it's very much a physical activity.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, like, holy moly. Okay, I'm going over it with a little bit of white and gray just to kind of soften it up. I feel like that it's supposed to be a black feather, but it just wasn't showing up against my brown, so I can go back in and add a little bit of black, but maybe, there we go. So now it's looking a little bit more black, but you have that lighter color underneath, so it's giving some contrast. So if it's not showing up for you, just, you know, don't give up. We can make it, figure out a way to make it work. We'll do this feather over here too. And this one will probably show up better because it doesn't have that dark antler next to it. Sometimes feathers are shorter on one side than another, so maybe sometimes this side might be longer length. What are those called? Quills, or I don't know.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
That's
I was
all right.
reading the chat.
It's all right.
I'm a wealth of information for sure.
What are the little parts of the feather called? These little parts, like this individual section, you know, here. Is there a name for it?
Yeah, I'm blank.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
me
no.
too. Yeah. So,
I've never thought of it actually.
okay. That's okay.
I'll monitor chat. I'm sure somebody's smarter than us at this point.
Oh, that's good. Thank goodness for Google. We're trying to explain to our children how the world worked when we didn't have Google or cell phones. Like how, you know, if you broke down on the side of the road, you pretty much had to walk to the nearest house and knock on a stranger's door or, you know, hope that there's a business nearby that would let you, use their phone. It was rough times. So I say that to say I'm sure that if you Googled it, there would be somebody that is an expert on.
True.
There's probably a YouTube video about it.
So somebody has said quills.
Quills, okay.
But I think the more correct answer is feather thingies. I'm going to go with that one.
I think so.
Yeah.
That was my first choice.
Okay. Yeah. So
That was what I was
It's been
leaning towards.
confirmed.
Okay. gosh. This is awesome. We're having fun tonight. Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry up. We are so late. Okay, so I'm adding some white. It's a combo of the unbleached titanium and white here to the tip of this flat feather. And I may have to let that dry underneath because it's wanting to mix with it. But I'm going to grab a little bit of white on the corner of this brush and see if I can make some dots in this feather. Feather. There we go. You know, those little black feathers that have those little dots in them. What are those birds that we used to have some in our neighborhood that have these kind of feathers? These little black and white spotted peahens. Is that what they're called? People would get them and
Oh no, they're
they eat the ticks out of the yard.
the guinea hens.
Guinea hens. That's
Yep.
what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yep.
Guinea hens. Okay, so use up whatever you've got left there to add some more of the white to your thing there. You see how I'm layering each one? So, you know, these are underneath these here, and this kind of I tucked up underneath this purple flower. Okay, my hair is getting in my eyes. You know what? I think this new hairstyle is drooping. I clip it off to the side, you know, like just, you know, and it like as the day goes on, that clip gets lower and lower until it's kind of drooping in my eyes, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, move it back up, reset. All right, let's grab this. I need some clean white because I am running out of. I'll put it over on a different spot. And okay, grab this brush. Let's put out some color on our white flowers here. We're going to run out of time to fill them in. They've got to have time to dry. So this one is a make-believe flower, so I'm just kind of making up my own flower shape. So if you want something more realistic, you can kind of look up some flowers and really be more realistic about this. This is more of a fantasy type painting project here. So, and you see how I kind of went right up to the leaves and the other things, and don't feel like you have to not go over the top of them. So going over the top will actually help push them back and make it look layered. All right, let's do that. Let's give this one kind of almost a daisy feel. So just using the edge of my brush and pulling toward the center here. This is like a mum almost. Not really a daisy because I don't have this many petals. All right, and let's put another one of these right over, where should I put it? Right here. We'll put it over the top of this. We'll just set that back a little bit. Okay, that's good, I think. Let's grab the pink. I'm going to mix that with my white. And I'm just going to pull, while this is still wet, I'm just going to pull a little bit of this color from the center out. Now you probably don't want to do all three and then go back and do this because this one is starting to dry. So do this one this way and then do the other ones. That way you won't have any problems with it drying on you. I'm going to grab a even darker pink and do it one more time, just a little bit. Barely pressing down. And I have very little paint on my brush, so it's just kind of barely dragging off in. There we go. All right. Tap in this one. I think it's got some fuzzy center thing going on there. maybe do the same in this one. Grab some a little darker quinacridone. There we go. We'll add some even darker color here to it in a minute. Let's put our rose together. So I'm going to grab the quinacridone and some white. And actually, I need a lot more white than quinacridone, so I want to make a nice light color. And we'll start in the center here and do kind of a overlapping C strokes or comma strokes. And if there's a point here where these two are meeting this way, think about like laying a brick right over the top of that. So you're covering that gap and cover this gap and maybe tuck one in and cover those two gaps. If you use that edge of your brush, and you can press down if you want a little bit thicker line in some places. So if you want to keep it thin, you can just kind of drag it. If you want it thicker in the middle, you can press down in the middle and then lift up and drag it to get a thinner line. Make sure you're going all the way to the outside edge here. And we'll probably add some other colors in here to it as well, but you know, go back in and kind of clean it up a little bit, or you can leave it like that if you want it really, you know, really contrasty like that. So I really feel like this is very, very dark on my screen. Is it dark on yours?
Some people have said that it looked dark.
Yeah.
It was okay on my phone. It's a little dark on the computer, but
It looks really dark to me.
Mess with it at this point.
Well, let me see. Well, no, I don't need to do that. Probably turn it off on accident.
Yeah.
Maybe we can tilt that down.
Okay, I'll give it a try.
Oh, yeah. Spray this. Yeah, that's better. It's a little bit shiny, but that's a lot better. Okay. It's dark outside. I think that's part of the problem too. Usually I have the daylight kind of trickling in, and it's already dark out here since daylight savings time happened.
Yeah, we also adjusted the light when you did the black background because it was very reflective.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I added a little bit of white to this purple color, and I'm just going to drag from the outside in. Very, very lightly though, so it's streaking and kind of allowing some of that dark to show through. There we go. I'm going to grab some black on the corner of my brush, dab in with black in the center. Going to use that same color and dab in a little bit on the pink flower here. Now if you want to, you could use the round brush to do your little dots here. If you're having trouble keeping them small. Whoops. Don't do that. Drop it on the flower itself. That was not good. Okay, so we'll just put a little bit wider than we had intended there. Fix that. Meant to do it. Okay. And let's see. I need to know. Nope, that's good, I think. All right. Yeah, it is a little bit shiny, but it's better than it was, I think. Let's mix up a little bit of blue. We'll put in some blue. Yeah, we'll do that later. I've got white and phthalo blue here. And we'll put in some kind of random dots. Actually, I want to wait and do my small orangey flowers first. So I put out way more Quinacridone Magenta than I needed here. I hate it when I do that. Unbleached Titanium, Quinacridone Magenta, and a little bit of the Cad Yellow Light. This will make a peach color. We'll use the Cad Yellow Light in our, grab some white here, make it a little bit brighter. We'll use the Cad Yellow Light for a few little random leaves as well. So it'll be in a couple places. All right, and let's put, now these are our filler flowers. So we've got our main elements already in here, and now we're just going to put these filler flowers in. That's a word, that's a hard word to say. Filler flowers, filler flowers. Going to put those in around just maybe 3 or 4 petals here. They don't have to look like anything in particular. Again, we're just kind of making this up as we go along.
Well, the parts on the feather are barbs.
Barbs, there we go. I knew somebody knew.
Well,
Somebody looked it up for me.
yeah, Google.
Thank you, Google.
Knew it.
Thank you, Google. Nice barbs. Okay, so the barbs are sometimes longer on one side than the other. That was the whole point I was trying to make. Thank you. I'm adding a little bit more of the quinacridone in a couple places here. Pretty, pretty. The center is going to be filled in with different colors, so I'm not really worried about filling those in. And let's do one more, so we have our 5, right? There we go. And then we'll grab the Quinacridone Magenta for the centers. And we've still got that color on there, so it's cutting it a little bit. Let's add a little bit of purple so it's more like violet. There we go. Ooh, that's pretty. Just a small little brush stroke right in the center there. Okay. And that'll work. Sounds like somebody's knocking at the door. All right. Do that there. And maybe add a little bit of this color to the center of this one, maybe. Just a little bit. Okay, let's do this. Let's do Quinacridone Magenta, some purple, and let's see what it looks like with teal. That's a pretty color. Do a little bit more quinacridone. I feel like I want to do some like a burgundy-ish, some like really dark. I may have to get a little bit more phthalo green out here. I'm trying. I know we're cutting it close here. I think we'll finish pretty close. We're real close to finishing. I don't think I'll be able to show you the sticks and branches though, so you just have to be on your own for that. Sorry. I do have how to do pine needles and pine cones in my cardinal video from last winter, so that would be an option if you wanted to do that. Okay, that's not the color I'm looking for. I don't know what color. We'll try this again. Let's try just Quinacridone and Phthalo Green and see what happens. Okay, that's the color I want. I hate it when I mix a color and then I don't write it down on my example thing. Like, because I was looking for this color right here. And I know it's not quinacridone by itself. I thought it had a little purple in it, but it didn't. So it was quinacridone and Phthalo Green. That would have bugged me so bad if I hadn't figured that out. Because I didn't write it down on my cheat sheet. All right, so I'm going to tuck that in right here, and we'll just do some little tiny leaves. This is kind of how you do a pine leaf, or pine branch. Let's do some right here on top of this. It's not going to show up very well there, but we'll add a little bit of white to it to get it to show up. There we go. It's kind of like a little, kind of a smaller version of that. And we're just kind of overlapping some little dabs. There we go. Let's put some of that white colored highlights on this one. Go right over the top of that green. We'll just set those leaves back a little bit. All right. It's good. Let's use a little bit of this color in the center of our flower because it's a good dark color. I'm just going to use it in a couple places. Don't overlap too much on top of the white. I'm kind of trying to keep it in the darker areas here. It doesn't have to be filled in solid, but it'll kind of help maybe shadow some of these edges of the white layer a little bit. Give it a little more dimension. Let's add it a little bit to the center of these flowers. We'll do a little dot in each one of those. Okay, maybe a tiny bit in these ones too. Okay. All right, now we'll do our blue. I think it's looking good. I'm liking it so far. Phthalo Blue, and a little bit goes a long way. You just need a little tiny bit of it with your white here. I'm going to do it a little bit darker than that, though. So kind of a mid blue, medium blue color. And this will be our real pop of color that's sort of a little bit more in your face. So we're just doing little berries, kind of little dots. Kind of helps to have like a pop of color in some of your, paintings, just to kind of give it a little boost. Let's do it right up. Let's see. Where do I want it? How are we doing on time, hon?
Doing good.
Doing okay?
15 minutes.
Okay, good. Oh yeah, we got plenty of time. We can get it done.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's good. Maybe a couple of them right here, just like they got lost. And then since I did one over there, I'm going to do one over here. All right. I love that color. Phthalo Blue and the white is just such a pretty, Phthalo Blue in general is a pretty color. Any blue, any blue is my favorite color. From teal to purpley blue, ultramarine, royal blue. I found that out when I was trying to dress like a deer for Halloween, and I realized I did not have one brown shirt at all in my closet. Lots of blue shirts, a lot of red and black and white, but no, not one brown. I had to go out and buy a brown shirt. So funny. It's not surprising, really, but you know, brown seems like a pretty basic color you should have in your wardrobe, but nope, not me. Apparently. I have to say I made a pretty cute deer. That was a really fun costume. I enjoyed that a lot. I kind of wish I could wear that black and white wig that I had on her all the time. It was really, really cute.
Well, you can. Nothing says you can't.
That's true. I'm a grown-up. I can do what I want.
That's right. It's part about being an adult.
I might get some weird looks, but
Hey, whatever.
nobody said I couldn't. This is America.
That's right. I may have seen Stranger Things in public, so, but we'll just leave it at that.
Okay, I'm making like a lime green with phthalo green, and completely leaving that alone.
Exactly. Just stay focused.
Yeah. And let's put in just some little baby leaves here and there, and I feel like that's a little bit dark, so let's just cut it a little bit with the brown and see what that does. Yeah, that's a little bit better. If your color is kind of looking a little bit too vibrant, you can either cut it, like if you cut it with when I say cut, I mean cut the intensity of the color down. I'm not like cutting into it. It's not surgery. But there we go. It's pretty, maybe a little bit more yellow. You can use a complementary color. You can use brown, gray. There's all kinds of different ways of, just toning down a color so that it's a little bit more manageable. Doesn't look so circusy. Like, for those who watch Ginger tonight, well, I would be curious to see if she actually uses that term tonight. Circus colors. You can tell her that I referenced it tonight. Too. All right, let's grab a little bit of the brown. We'll just make a little bit darker color and put a little bit center in these. And I'm pressing this brush flat just like I did with the number 4 round. And that way you can kind of use it like a flat brush. Give yourself a little, let's go ahead and add one down here too. I might just do like a cluster of them, like 3 little ones there. I think that's better. Okay. Add some white and do some white highlight in there. Like it's getting a little bit muddy, so you might need to clean out your brush at some point, and there we go. All right, let's do 3 down here too. Or maybe 2. These little final details are what really kind of sell the painting. So don't, I'm kind of rushing here, but, take your time when you're doing yours and really, add highlights, add little details to the leaves, to the branches. You can add highlights to some of these if you wanted to. Every little extra layer really helps and give it that finished look, finished feeling. Add a little bit of white. And let's make a orange with the quinacridone and this color. This is that cad yellow light. We'll put a little bit of that in our center of this flower. And we'll add, let's see, maybe we need just some random dots of it here and there.
Which brush are you using right now?
This is the number 2 round.
Okay.
I'm just adding little random dots here. They're not really attached to anything, but they'll. There we go. Grab some of this yellow oxide that's in the background. Add it to the center of this flower and to some of these berries. Whatever these things are. Okay, let's add some white to the center of this flower. And then mix up a little bit of the blue with some white and purple. And make kind of a lavender blue. I've got all kinds of colors going on in here. Hopefully it's making a, yeah, that's working. Okay, let's put a leaf in here with this color. This is kind of like a violet color. We'll put a little bit on this flower here too. And put some around the center of this one. Okay. Grab the purple. Do a center for that leaf. Grab some brighter white here and put in a few more of the really bright white dots on my baby's breath. Try to put some out like really random way out by themselves, and that'll kind of sell the overall look of it too. You don't want it too perfectly rounded or shaped. All right, we are about done. Let's add a little bit of highlighting to our antlers.
Did you get the twigs in there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the twig stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Twiggly things,
Oh, yes.
I think. And we could probably put some more leaves up this way. I don't know. Let's get this on, and then we need to stop because what time does she start? 7:30?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But
we need to end.
you can keep going.
Okay.
I mean, we understand if people want to jump on over there and catch the beginning of that show.
Okay, I'm going to end here. I'm just going to do a little bit of, whoa, that's a little bit bright. Get too much on there. This is Unbleached Titanium with a little bit of the burnt umber color. Don't want too much. I'm just going to use it to dry brush some highlight on my antlers here. Just on the tips a little bit, kind of right in the middle, to sort of give them a little bit of rough texture. So We went pretty long tonight. Hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Mark's like, uh-huh. I didn't warn him that we were going this late tonight. He might have had some soup before we started if he had known.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well.
Oops, I just put my hand in that. Okay, so if you do that, you can grab a paper towel that's wet and wipe it off. As long as your background's dry, you should be able to do that. So I want to say thank you to those who stopped by and watched tonight. Really appreciate you always supporting us and being so fun in our chats. We really enjoy you guys, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do live shows on Saturdays and Tuesday nights. Saturdays are at 2 p.m. Central, and Tuesdays are, thank you, Tuesdays are at 6 p.m. Central. So I really appreciate you all watching tonight, and we're going to head off. Oh, I am off camera. Let me zoom out here. Oh, it turned out really nice. Very kind of rustic, good for fall. Hope you've enjoyed this. You could add a name to it. You know, if you wanted to put the Andersons, or you don't have to put the Andersons if that's not your name, but you know what I mean. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you on Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon, actually. Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. Thanks. Bye.